Hello my lovelies, it is time for my October wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is Wednesday, October 6th, and I have completed 2 books. So I'm a little behind on where I should be at this point, but we're going with it. So on the 1st, I'm counting this as completed. I actually DNF'd Queen Solomon by Tamara Faith Berger. I read about a third of this and decided I didn't want to make myself read anymore. It's not a long book, but it wasn't pleasant to read. The narrator is a horny Jewish teenage boy, and he talks about like a girl giving him head in a bathroom, and this is a girl he's like never met before, for like a drink out of his flask. And he goes into detail. He also goes into detail about losing his virginity to when he was 15 to his 15-year-old girlfriend, and again in detail. And then the family is now hosting this girl from Ethiopia. She's 18 and it's all very awkward. She wants him to do things, and he talks about the things that she asks him to do. He talks about the things that he does to her, other things he wants to do to her, and there was just, it was vulgar, it was gross, there was a lot of sexist, racist, this was not good. This was not good at all. I gave it 1 star. I gave it a shot, and I hated it. But the second book that I read, I finished yesterday on the 5th, and that was Most Likely by Sarah Watson. I gave this one 5 stars. It was fabulous, and I loved it very much. I actually teared up a little at the end, not because it was sad, but because it was just like, it was so good. Like the ending was so perfect and sweet, and I loved it. Okay, so it starts out, the prologue is set in Washington, D.C., January 20th, 2049. And one of our main characters is being announced as President of the United States. And then we go back to, let me see what the date was. Cleveland, Ohio, fall 2019. And we're following these 4 girls through their senior year of high school. And all of the things that they're going through. They're dealing with depression, adoption, getting into the college you want, or not getting into the college you want, or SATs, and plus all of the regular high school kind of stuff. Boys and dating and all of that. And then there's also this park. So every year the seniors go and they carve their names into this playground equipment at this park. And their parents did it, and they were going to go do it. And when they showed up, the park was fenced off, locked up, and they were planning on demolishing it and putting it in office buildings. And these 4 girls, they decide they want to try to do something to save this park. So they're all trying to work towards saving this park in their own way, as well as dealing with all the stuff they have going on. And they're learning, they're growing. It's okay, so we have one girl who she was adopted, and she also, her dream school is to go to an art school, and she also deals with depression, and she doesn't know, like, she's always been curious about like her birth mother, and also wonders if, you know, this came from her birth mother or birth father or anything like that. And then we have another one who, she tries so hard in school and volunteers like crazy, and she ends up volunteering at this rec center for children in like wheelchairs and stuff. There's a lot of disability rep in here. There's also, as I mentioned with the other character, mental illness rep. So this one volunteers. She works really hard in school, and she's trying to score well on her SATs because she really wants to go to Stanford, but she kind of keeps bombing the SATs and is afraid she's not going to be able to get into this dream school of hers. And then we have one student, like one of them, that's like super smart and scores well and all of that, but her family doesn't really have the money for her to go to college. And she's afraid she's going to be stuck in this town and working in this movie theater, and she doesn't want that. And then we have another one who's like the school's head reporter, and she's digging deep into the councilman and all of this, trying to see if she can save this park. And this was just, it was such a fun read. Also in the prologue there is the man that she's married to, and you think, oh, okay, well, you'll just see who he gets involved with, and that'll help you figure out which one of these girls grows up to be the president. But he's interwoven throughout all of their stories, and you don't figure it out until the end. And it's just, oh, it's so good, and I loved it so much, and I highly recommend it. 5 stars. So it is Thursday, October 7th, and I have completed one more book. I finished From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I really, really enjoyed this. I think I'm going to give it 4 stars. I don't know if it was 5 stars for me throughout the whole thing, but I very much enjoyed it. I love Poppy. Oh my goodness. I love the humor. I love the relationships in here. They're interesting. There's also some steamy scenes. There are some twists in here that I didn't see coming. This follows Poppy, who she is considered the maiden, and she's not to be like even spoken to really. She's not supposed to be touched. She's not supposed to get any kind of pleasure from anything. She has to keep her face covered. She's pretty much locked away in a tower, a gilded prison pretty much, and she's supposed to remain this way until her 19th birthday, in which time she will go with the rest that are being ascended, and something kind of all relies upon her and her being found worthy by the gods. But then this guard that is honor bound to protect her, they get a little too close and things get complicated, and there's also power struggles going on. There's what feels like a war building up, and there's also these things called cravens, which there's cravens and there's wolvens, and I kind of group those together. They seem like werewolves pretty much, and it's like craven was like somewhere in between human and werewolf, I think, and then wolven is like fully transforms in a wolf. And then you have Atlanteans, which in my head they're vampires. So this was perfect for this time of year. I'm very much looking forward to continuing this. I hate to have to wait until next month for the next book, but I'm gonna give this 4 stars. It was a lot of fun. So it is Friday, October 8th, and I've completed one more book. I finished Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is the 3rd and final book in the Darker Shade of Magic series. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this, but I will say that I enjoyed book 2, A Gathering of Shadows, more than I liked this one. I ended up giving this 4 stars, but something that kind of took away from me was that there are so many different perspectives, and it's not just our main characters. There are multiple chapters where we have like this one random side character. They get a chapter or 2 or 3, and that happened with so many different little side characters. And I don't know that that was necessarily necessary, and I think it made the book a lot longer than it really needed to be, in my opinion. And I think when I get so many different perspectives, it kind of takes away from the story. It takes me out of it a little bit each time we're switching perspectives, especially when we're switching to non-main character perspectives. And in this one, you know, we have the big finale, the big penultimate battle, and along the way we lose characters, and I don't know, it was hard to really feel for any characters. It was maybe some like, oh, that's sad, but you don't feel it as much because of bouncing around so much. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but I did still really enjoy it. I like how the story wrapped up. There were a couple of parts that were like, oh, and a couple of parts that were like, oh, but overall, I give it 4 stars. So it is Sunday, October 10th, and I've completed 2 more books. So the first book I completed was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White, and I give this 4 stars. This is a really interesting Frankenstein retelling where there's the whole Frankenstein story, but this is a different perspective. So we have Elizabeth's perspective, and Elizabeth is almost like the adoptive sister of Victor Frankenstein. And Victor's parents essentially purchase Elizabeth in Geneva, I believe, because they're looking for a special friend for Victor. Victor, he's done something and he is a peculiar child and can't really make friends easily, and so they're trying to find somebody to help Victor. And Elizabeth, she wants this family. She's an orphan and she wants this life, and so she does everything to make Victor love her and need her, and she helps to socialize Victor. And it follows back and forth between like when they're kids and like the current time of all of the Frankenstein's monster stuff going on. And Elizabeth is like searching for Victor while he's gone away to do his studies, and he's also like creating his monster during this time. And yeah, it's a really interesting take on the whole thing, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. And then I finished How to Make Friends with the Dark by Kathleen Glasgow, and this is a very emotional read. It's about a girl who's only parent, essentially. She grew up with a single mom and an overprotective mom who didn't really let her do much of anything, but they were still close. But they had this fight, and then her mother ended up having an aneurysm and dying, and the whole story is like her dealing with her grief. And she gets put into the foster care system for a little while and the juvenile delinquent system for a little while. And while she's in the system, she hears like these horror stories from these kids of different foster families or their own families, and she realizes that she had it a lot better than she thought she did, and she didn't really appreciate what she had until it was gone. And I give this 4 stars. So it is Wednesday, October 13th, and I've completed 2 more books. So the first book I completed was Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, aka Shauna McGuire, and this is the first book in the Up and Under series, which this book is a book that's mentioned throughout Middle Game, and you don't really have to have read Middle Game to read this, and you don't have to have read this to read Middle Game, but Shauna McGuire did write the book that was mentioned in Middle Game. So this follows 2 characters. This is middle grade, by the way. Zib and Avery. And Zib is much more of a like free spirit and wants to go on adventures and all of that. And Avery is a much more follow the rules, everything's nice and neat and tidy, and does not like veering from his schedule, veering from the path, whereas Zib very much does. And this particular day, they're on their way to school the same way they've gone every other day, and something interrupts their travel and they have to take a new path. And this new path leads them to this wall. And they both know that this is a wall that shouldn't be there. It looks like a very old wall, but it's never been there before. And they both climb over it and find this whole different world, the up and under. And they're trying to figure out how to get back home. This was so much fun. I would say if you like Alice in Wonderland, you're going to enjoy this. If you don't like Alice in Wonderland, this is definitely not for you, because it is a very nonsensical kind of world. I, however, freaking loved it. I finished this yesterday and realized that this was the first in a series. I didn't know it was a whole series. I thought it was a standalone book. And so I looked online, and it just so happened that the sequel came out yesterday, which I requested my library get it. I am going to actually give this 5 stars. I loved it. And yesterday I started and finished The Assassination of Brangwyn Spurge by M.T. Anderson and Eugene Yelchin. This was interesting. This is unlike anything else that I think I've ever read. It follows Brangwyn Spurge, who is launched in a barrel across lands and picked up by some 3-headed bird thing and brought to the Goblin Kingdom, where Brangwyn, he's a scholar, but he's been sent there to kind of spy and report back to the elves, and he's not a very good spy. But he also has this thing, this rock kind of thing, that's got something inside of it that he's wanting to give to the leader of the goblins. And in the beginning, Brangwyn sees everything very distorted and reports back very distorted kind of images of these goblins, and he sees them as monstrous and ugly and disgusting and vicious, but and he can't seem to like enjoy anything. And he's being hosted by a scholar as well, and goblins are all about hospitality, and it's their duty to be as hospitable as possible, especially if they're being like the one staying in that person's home. And so he's doing everything he possibly can to make Brangwyn happy, and it's just not working out well. And they find themselves in a very precarious kind of situation, and a friendship develops, and Brangwyn starts to see things how they really are, and how much these goblins have been kind to him and have actually been trying and helping even though they don't have to. And this was fun. I enjoyed it. And there's like several chapters where you have just words, and then there's also several chapters that are literally just pictures. And it was a lot of fun. And I'm going to give this 3.75, which is my rating for a book that I really enjoyed, but I'm not going to read again. And so I'm going to give this a 3.75. So it is Wednesday, October 20th, and if you've been watching the posts that I've been making on YouTube, not the videos, but the little posts that I've been making the middle of the month in October, you know that I had a little tumble and a pretty severe head injury. I still have it. I have currently 5 staples in the back of my head. Yeah. I have a concussion. It was due to stupidity. Don't walk down the stairs while messing with your phone. I literally just missed 1 step. It was the last step, and boy was that a doozy. But anyway, I haven't been able to read a whole lot, so I'm behind on my reading. But I did manage to finally complete 2 books yesterday. I was able to get the audiobooks for these and finished out the book that way, because reading, actually looking at the words, hasn't worked for me for the past few days. But I completed Wolfsong by TJ Klune. This is actually the first TJ Klune book that I've read. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give this 4 stars. What do I say about this book? We have gay werewolves. I don't really know too much to say about it. Our main character, his name is Ox. This starts when he's very young and goes through to the time he's like 23. I want to say it starts when he's like 12 and it goes until he's like 23. In this time, he meets a boy named Joe, and Joe is a werewolf, and they're the best of friends for a really long time. They're connected. Eventually they fall in love. There is a bad guy named Richard who at one time did some very bad stuff and has now come back. He wants to be an alpha, and their clan or whatever, their pack, does not want that. And yeah, there's a bird that just flew into the window. Hold on. The dogs are going nuts now. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Wolfsong. I enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. And then yesterday I also finished listening to Dorothy Must Die Stories Volume 3. This was a reread for me. This is a novella. It has 3 short stories. We have Order of the Wicked, which just kind of tells about what's happened with them. Then we have the Dark Side of the Rainbow, and it's about Dorothy and Polychrome. And then we have the Queen of Oz, and we have Ozma and Pete's story. I really enjoyed this. I enjoy all of the Dorothy Must Die series. I think this is maybe my least favorite out of them, but I still give it 4 stars. So it is Thursday, October 28th, and I have completed 5 more books. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but really, 4 of those are graphic novels. But the first one that I finished, I actually finished, I think it was on the 22nd, and that was 13 Little Blue Envelopes by Maureen Johnson. And I think I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It's about a girl named Jenny Blackstone whose aunt has passed away, but before she passed away, she wrote 13 letters to Jenny, and the first letter included $1,000 for her to get her passport and directions for her to follow before she could open her second envelope. And this sends her all over Europe and meeting all kinds of new people and experiencing all kinds of new things, and also learning a lot about her aunt and her aunt's love of art and really what her aunt went through. And it was beautiful, and it was sweet, and it was fun, and I really want to follow this same path that she took and go to all these same places that she went. Granted, I don't want to experience some of the bad things she experienced, but I do want to go to all these places, and I'm actually looking forward to reading the next book. I think it's called The Last Little Blue Envelope or something like that. But yes, I give this 4 stars. And then yesterday I finished the other 4. So I finished Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. This is super cute. It follows Deja and Josiah, and they are seasonal friends. They only hang out when they're working at the pumpkin patch in the fall. They're friends from September until the end of October. And this is their senior year. This is their last season. It is the last day of their last season. It is Halloween night. And Deja has decided that they're gonna carpe diem the night and get Josiah to talk to this girl that he's been mooning over for the past 3 years. And also, Deja wants to eat all of the snacks that she hasn't in the past 3 years of working there. This was super cute, a lot of fun. Also, I will say that Deja is bi, which I didn't know going in, and I thought that was really cool. So I give this 4 stars. And then if you watched my wrap up last month, you know that I read the graphic novel Fence Volume 1, and I was really, no pun intended here, on the fence about that. And I wasn't sure if I was interested in continuing or not, because really nothing happened in that first one. But my friend Clint told me to, you know, give more a try, and I didn't want to go and spend the money on buying them if I didn't think I was gonna like them. So I went to my library and I checked out volumes 2, 3, and 4, and I've read all 3 of these, and I did enjoy them. I enjoyed each one a little bit more than the one before. I think volume 1 I gave 3 stars. Volume 2 I'm giving 3.5 stars. Volume 3 I'm giving 3.75, and volume 4 I'm giving 4 stars. And I think the next thing to read is actually a full novel. But volume 2 follows their second day of trying out, and CG and Nicholas are both experiencing some hurdles. And then volume 3 is their final day of tryouts and who makes the team. And again, I really enjoyed this. And then in volume 4, the team has been selected, and they go to their first practice match, and it's a team match. It's not done like normal individual matches. And the team they struggle to work as a team, because fencing is pretty much an individual sport, but so they don't really know how to handle the team aspect of it, and they struggle. But again, I super enjoyed this, and yeah, I'm giving this one 4 stars. So it is Sunday, October 31st, and I have completed 3 more books. Now, I did not start and finish them all today, but I did finish them all today. So the first book that I finished was The House of Hades by Rick Riordan. This is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series, so I can't really tell you too much about this, but what I can say is that our group of kids, or demigods, they're all working to close the doors to Hades. Gia's working on getting them open to start funneling all these monsters back onto the earth to take it over, pretty much. And the only way to close these doors is from both the inside and the outside together. And yeah, so we have some kids that have to go to Tartarus and work their way through hell to get to the inside door and try to survive, which is not an easy thing. And there's some really, really great things in here. Like one of the characters, Nico, he's got this big secret that finally gets revealed in here, and oh, I loved it. And there's a potential couple forming in here, and oh, I was so here for it. Plus, there is some queer representation in here as well. Like, I can't tell you everything, but I can tell you that there's some gods that are like, yeah, I fell in love with somebody of the same sex. So what? And I thought that was pretty great. I'm going to give this 4 stars. Then I finished If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and I was kind of disappointed in this. I didn't dislike it. I did enjoy it. Well, I enjoyed it enough, I guess. I'm going to end up giving this 3 stars. It's mostly told in the past. There's 2 timelines. We have current time and then 10 years in the past. Current time, it starts out with, we have a guy named Oliver who has just spent 10 years in prison and he's about to get out, and the detective that put him there. But this detective never really believed that Oliver was the one responsible, and he wants to know what the real story is. And his thought is, no, it's off the record, no double jeopardy or anything. That was the deal. And Oliver would tell him the story. So the other timeline is him telling this story and everything that happened 10 years ago that led up to this student being murdered and what followed after and led to Oliver going to jail. For those that are like really, really big fans of Shakespeare, I can see them absolutely loving this. I do like Shakespeare. I think I enjoyed Shakespeare a lot more when I was younger than I do now that I'm older, but it was still okay, and yeah, that's all I can really say about it. And I'm gonna give this 3 stars. And then last but not least, to round out my Halloween reading, Marty and we read together The Haunting of Ashburn House, or we both listened to it and I followed along in the book. And we both give this 4 stars. This was a great, spooky, haunted house type story. A girl who, it's always just been her and her mother always told her they had no surviving relatives. All of a sudden finds out that she did actually have this great aunt who has passed away and left her this house. And it couldn't have come at a better time because Adrian is essentially homeless and running out of money. And this happened at the perfect time. But things, the house has a reputation and it's for good reason. I really very much enjoyed this, and it's definitely creepy, and I give it 4 stars. So I really managed to surprise myself this month with the amount that I was able to read after my head injury. I'm blown away by the fact that I actually finished 18 books this month. So have you read any of these books? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!